Bill Simmons, the podfather himself, gives us his opinion on who the Knicks should target, and Karl Anthony Towns is making his way up the ranks in the MVP conversation. All that and much more, and I'm gonna break it down for you guys. What up, guys? It's your boy, Mr. New York or Nowhere. Queens get the money, all of that good stuff. So on one of Bill Simmons' podcast episodes, they were talking about different trade talks with different NBA teams, and then when the topic of the Knicks came up, Bill Simmons brought up a trade scenario where Dariel Concha from the Brooklyn Nets would come to the New York Knicks. Now, in this concocted trade that Bill Simmons made up, it's actually a three-teamer. It's between the Brooklyn Nets, the Knicks, and the Detroit Pistons. So Cam Johnson would be going to the Detroit Pistons. Dariel Concha from the Brooklyn Nets will be coming to the Knicks. But there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So the Knicks, there was so much stuff that goes into it that I had to write it down. The Knicks, they own Detroit's pick. So in order for the trade to happen, the Knicks would have to remove the protections around Detroit's pick so Detroit could trade this year's pick. And another part of the deal is actually Mitchell Robinson. So New York would trade Mitchell Robinson to Detroit, and the Knicks would get some sort of trade exception, and they would actually forfeit their rights to Detroit's first-round pick. And then New York gets Dariel Concha from the Nets. Now, one of the big reasons why Bill Simmons wants Dariel Concha from the Brooklyn Nets on the Knicks, he was talking about just getting more of a reliable big to back up Karl Anthony Towns. Just like everybody in Knicks fan base, one of the biggest quips that we have with Mitchell Robinson is his injury history. Even though Dariel Concha is a bit younger, he doesn't have a lot of seasons under his belt. He has shown to be a little bit more stable and a little bit more available. If I'm looking at Dariel Concha's seasons, his rookie season was 2001 and 2022, where he played 32 games. The season after that, he played 48. 2023, 2024, he played 61. And this current season, he's at 26 games right now. And another reason why is the money. As far as contracts, Dariel Concha, he actually makes $10 million less than Mitchell Robinson. And to be honest, as far as if we're talking about just availability and durability, then I'm not really mad at the trade. But for the season, Dariel Concha is averaging 7.7 points, 6.3 rebounds, 1.5 assists, 0.5 blocks. He's averaging 3 field goals made on 6 field goals attempted, which is 48%. His three-pointer is not really there. He's averaging around 26 minutes. The thing that I keep going back and forth with this season in particular is, yeah, we're on a roll. We've been beating some pretty good teams, specifically this past week. And I'm recording this before the Laker game on Saturday. So before the Laker game, we caught a W against the Denver Nuggets. We caught a W against the Memphis Grizzlies. Like, we have some pretty good, and the Memphis Grizzlies, I believe, are third in the Western Conference. So we have some pretty good wins against some pretty good teams in the NBA. But at the same time, we don't really know what the ceiling of this team is until we see Mitchell Robinson back. And if we end up doing nothing at the trade deadline, if we don't end up sending out Mitch, if we don't end up sending out Precious Achiuwa, and we just keep the team with what it is, and we wait until Mitchell Robinson comes back and he's fully healthy, we're not going to really get a true understanding of what this team is, not probably until maybe like March, which is only 1 month prior to the playoffs. And with the way this team is rolling, like Mikal Bridges, even though he's up and down, Karl Anthony Towns is dealing with those 2 finger injuries, the sprained thumb and the bone chip in his hand and his finger. Even though Karl Anthony Towns is dealing with those injuries, like it still looks a lot better than what I was expecting. I was certainly not expecting to be third in the East. I was expecting around this time, around All-Star break, I was expecting to be anywhere between 5 and 6 seed. So I'm pleasantly surprised where we are as far as standings and as far as where we're playing. Are there things that we can focus on? Are there things that we can improve on? Of course, like I just mentioned, Mikal Bridges, I want him to be a little bit more consistent. Karl Anthony Towns, obviously I would want him to not be injured, but he's playing through injury, but that's the NBA, so I can't really do anything about that. But Dariel Concha backing up Karl Anthony Towns, I don't know, man. Like, maybe like in December, I probably would have been for it. But if we're talking about right now, I think I'd just rather keep the team the way it is rather than make a move. And, I mean, Mitchell Robinson is coming back from 2 stress fractures in his foot. So he's coming back from a really, really big injury, and we're just not really going to know what he looks like until he's out there on the floor. So what if Mitchell Robinson comes back and he's actually like, oh my God, this guy doesn't look like he missed a step? I don't know, man. That's something that we're just going to have to wait and see. Another thing, before I move on from this topic, is if Mitchell Robinson comes back, whenever he comes back, and let's say he comes back at the beginning of March and he has a whole month prior to the playoffs with no hiccups, with no knick-knack injuries, what is the lineup going to look like? Like, there's been a lot of conversation I've seen on Knicks thread, on Twitter and stuff, that if Mitchell Robinson comes back, is he automatically going to be at the starting five? And if he does go to the starting five, then who's going to come out of the starting five? Right now, we got Jalen Brunson, Mikal, OG, Josh Hart, and KAT. If Mitchell Robinson goes to the five, I think Josh Hart will be the one to come off the bench. And if that happens, then we're going to add some sort of offensive and defensive punch off the bench. We got Josh Hart coming off the bench. We got Deuce coming off the bench. And then that last spot, which Tibbs, he tends to only use like 8 players in the playoffs as far as a rotation. Josh Hart, 100%. Deuce, 100%. And then that last spot is probably going to be between Cam and Landry Shamet. Maybe Tibbs might stretch it to a 9-man. I'm not sure. But if we get Josh Hart coming off the bench, and whenever Mitchell Robinson comes back and he comes back fully healthy, that'll be a super, super nice offensive and defensive boost coming off the bench. Josh Hart, also the conversation around Josh Hart being an all-star snub. Some people had him on their ballot. But if we get that type of player coming off the bench and Josh Hart, it'll be very interesting going into the playoffs. But going back to the point of this segment, and Bill Simmons, the podfather, bringing up Day'Ron Sharpe as far as someone the Knicks should try and target. Again, if this was like maybe a month and a half ago, I'd probably say let's do it. But currently, today, within where we stand in the NBA's landscape, third in the East, and the way we've been playing, knocking off these really good teams, Denver, Memphis, like, I think we should just keep it rolling with the way that we have. Hopefully we don't have any injuries. Hopefully just the team could get to the All-Star break, which is, I believe, in 2 weeks. I think it's in 2 weeks, or maybe next week. But if we could get everybody healthy to the All-Star break, let's just get everybody healthy, pass the trade deadline, and then we'll pick it back up after the All-Star break. Let's see what we can do. But now moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about Karl Anthony Towns moving up the ranks of MVP talks. So every week, NBA.com, they actually put out an article talking about their just the players that are in the conversations for the MVP trophy, for the regular season MVP trophy. And the last couple of weeks, Karl Anthony Towns was like in the 5 and 6 range. But the most recent article, which was posted, I believe it was yesterday, they got Karl Anthony Towns in 4th place right now. And as you can see right now, they got Giannis Antetokounmpo in front of KAT. They got Nikola Jokic at number 2. They got SGA at number 1. Listen, I don't have to throw up the numbers for KAT. We all know how he's been playing. We all know that maybe the 3-point shot has been, as far as percentages, has been going down a little bit because of that sprained thumb, because of that bone chip in his finger. So, I mean, that's like likely to happen. But as far as the impact that KAT has had on this team, I don't think any of the NBA talking head shows, anybody from the NBA media, I don't think anybody saw this coming. Nobody from the Knicks fan base saw this coming. And even myself included, I had so many more question marks regarding Karl Anthony Towns coming to the Knicks. I didn't know if he was going to be able to handle the scrutiny. I didn't know if he was going to be able to handle the spotlight. And the way he's been playing, man, is just like, wow, where has this player been? Because with the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's kind of been a disappointment. And up until Anthony Edwards took that ascension, it was Karl Anthony Towns' team, and when it was Karl Anthony Towns' team, they made the playoffs once, and that was when Jimmy Butler was technically the best player on the team. Andrew Wiggins was on that team. I'm not sure if Zach LaVine was on that team, but Coach Tibbs was the head coach of that team, and they ended up losing in the first round in 5 games. And then maybe Anthony Edwards' rookie season was when they played the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round, and they lost in 7. The Memphis Grizzlies went on to go to the next round, and Karl Anthony Towns at that point in time was the best player on the team. And he wasn't able to get past a really, really young Memphis Grizzlies team led by John Morant. See, there's just so many questions that I have with Karl Anthony Towns, his leadership, his basketball IQ, the way he carries himself. Is he really one of the better players in the league? And with the trade coming from Minnesota, coming here to New York, Like, I feel like he's maybe like put that narrative around his name to bed. Not 100%. He hasn't put it to bed 100%. I'd probably say maybe like around 70 to 80% of it is kind of like you can't really talk about it anymore. Now, granted, we still have to see all of this in April. Me personally, I don't care. It's not that I don't care what you do in the regular season, because obviously what you do in the regular season is going to propel you to play well in the playoffs. And whatever you do in the regular season is going to land you at whatever seed that you are at the end of the regular season to play in the playoffs, obviously. Right now, they're third in the East. So if they finish third in the East, they're going to be the third seed in the playoffs. So whatever you do in the regular season, it does have some sort of importance to it. But if you're a hooper, if you're a basketball, not even a hooper, if you're a basketball fan, you know that when the playoffs come around, it's a different time and it's a different energy. The defenses slow down, the intensity picks up, the physicality picks up, just the attention to detail picks up. The opposing team, they're going to fixate on so many small details on an individual player, on the team as a whole. And with KAT, this is where I have a lot of questions regarding KAT. And I've mentioned this in some of my solo videos. To guard KAT, I'd make KAT put it on the floor, because what I've seen from KAT, when he puts it on the floor, he's a bit out of control. He puts the ball on the floor, his head is down, and he's dropping his shoulder every single time. So the defender, if he's smart, he'd try to move his feet quick enough to get in front of KAT and do a little bit of a flopping action, which I absolutely hate. But if the defender is able to move his feet fast enough and get in front of KAT, and KAT drops his shoulder and drops his head, that's going to be an automatic offensive foul. And KAT does have a little bit of a tendency to fall in love with the three-point shot. So right there, those are two things off the top of my head that if I was defending KAT, I'd try to make him put it on the floor, and I'd also try and make him fall in love a little bit with the three-point shot, because KAT is most effective when he's doing a perfect blend of the two. When he's shooting the three ball, obviously when he's making it, but when he's shooting the three ball, when he's also mixing it down low in the post, KAT is one of the more talented bigs that I've seen in my lifetime. Specifically down low in the post. He can do a little baby hook with the right hand, with the left hand. He has the footwork. He has a reverse pivot, a pivot, up and under. KAT has the touch, and he has the ability to really excel as far as the big man down low. But, you know, with this new age in the NBA, the pace and space, the three-point shot, like, you got to take all that into account. But going back to the original point of KAT coming in fourth in the MVP ladder race on NBA.com's article, that's just a lot of respect. And it's kind of a little eye-opening to see where KAT has come from in his career. And last thing I'll say before wrapping up the video is when he was in Minnesota, man, the talk around KAT and the narrative around KAT, besides everything I mentioned, the basketball IQ and just leading a team, was that he was soft. And KAT coming here to New York and showing that he's playing through knick-knack injuries, showing us what he's able to do as far as being a basketball player. Like, their narrative around his name has 100% changed, and I'm very appreciative of that. But don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted, KAT, or anybody from the New York Knicks organization, if you guys watch this video. You need to perform when the lights are on at the brightest. We need to see this in April. If you guys go to the first round, second round, and get eliminated, it's a failed season. In my opinion, you guys need to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you guys need to make it a competitive Eastern Conference Finals. Of course, albeit we need to see the bodies that we have available. Hopefully everybody's available, healthy, no knick-knack injuries, no Mitchell Robinson going down with another stress fracture, no Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, none of that. Everybody healthy. And if we could take the Boston Celtics to 6 or 7 games, I still think that would be considered a successful season. Of course, it could be the Cleveland Cavaliers in the end that we see in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just not sold on Cleveland Cavaliers. I think they're more of a regular season team because they are led by Donovan Mitchell, and that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you so much for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about Bill Simmons' proposed trade to get Day'Ron Sharpe from the Brooklyn Nets here to the New York Knicks. And in that trade, we'd be giving up Mitchell Robinson going to the Detroit Pistons. And also leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about my thoughts about KAT coming in 4th in the NBA.com MVP ladder race. But until next time, you guys know the drill. You know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The Deuce is loose for co-MVP. OG Anunoby for Defensive Player of the Year. Taj Gibson, we miss you. And Taj Gibson for President. And I'm recording this before the Laker game on Saturday. But I'm expecting a W because Anthony Davis is not playing. He messed up his abdomen muscle, so he's going to be out for about a week. So I'm expecting a W. I'm expecting KAT to go out there and ball out. Jalen Brunson go out there and ball out. But whenever LeBron James comes to the Garden, it's always a moment. So I'm very excited for that game. But until next time, it's Queens forever. It's Mr. New York or nowhere. Queens get the money. You guys know the drill. As confetti falls on my head. Queens forever. Peace.